Welcome to The Founder's Mind, a podcast powered by the Kadar Group. This is your host, Adam Muchler. Before we drop into the conversation with Helen, some exciting news. The Founder's Mind is entering 2020 with a sponsor. We're currently producing Season 2 to be sponsored by Upside Business Travel with a release date of March. We couldn't be more hyped to work with Upside, and we're looking forward to sharing more soon. Now, on this episode, we have Helen Adeosun, co-founder and CEO of CareAcademy.com. Listen in as Helen shares the journey of creating and launching CareAcademy.com, how she hustled her way into a conference, and the importance of finding early mentors to champion you and your work as sponsors. Stick through the end as we close with a conversation about the late Bernard Tyson, formerly the CEO of Kaiser Permanente, who inspired both Helen and me, as well as a generation of leaders. We're here at the Rise of the Rest CEO Summit at the Eaton in DC with Helen, the CEO of Care Academy, a portfolio company of the Rise of the Rest Fund. Helen, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
Good.
I would rather hear from you than just talk about all the amazing things you've done. So would love to hear a little bit about what you're working on with Care Academy and a little background.
Absolutely. Would love to talk about that. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So Care Academy, I say, is the confluence of all the things that I love. And that's why I've had the privilege to be able to work with awesome people and really kind of grow within the startup. So I think the startup has grown me as much as we've been growing our startup.
Cool.
So I always love to start off with the fact that I am a first generation American, proudly Nigerian American. My parents immigrated and worked a number of jobs, whether it was in service, as in home care, and all kinds of other opportunities. I also worked as a home health aide throughout my very early career in high school and in college. And I always had the feeling of not being supported.
Sure.
I think that, and there's a whole historical tangent around this, but a lot of work in the home is not really considered work or professional work.
Right.
And so, part of what drives us at Care Academy comes born out of that experience of not feeling really, seen as a professional. Even to this day, when I talk about, someone will talk about, having a home health aide, they talk about the impact it's had on their family, but they call them sort of unskilled workers, right?
Unskilled?
Unskilled. Like what greater...
My brain just broke.
Right. Exactly. Right. And so I was even talking to another stakeholder in kind of the investment VC world. And they're like, well, so they're kind of doing the work that real clinicians or real professionals would do. And
emphasis
I was like,
on he, just so we make sure who said
no
that.
No hatred on the he, right? But it drives home the point that I think we have a long way to go in terms of realizing the value of home care work. I mean, we know that by 2026, roughly over $120 billion will go into home care driven healthcare. We have a whole value-based system that's all about how do we drive down the cost, but also drive up the quality of care. And that all starts in the home. People want to stay in their houses, right? That's where we're going to realize the most value as a country and as a world in giving whole care. And it starts with home care. And so what we're doing at Care Academy is essentially making sure that horns.
That's the city life.
They're excited about what we do at Care Academy. But it's essentially making sure that caregivers as professionals are able to train at the top of license. Before we entered into this field, people weren't really talking to the caregiver as a professional.
Got it.
And so we're changing that paradigm. We're changing the landscape. And we believe that healthcare is the future of work, and it starts with every single person that we have an impact on. So we're really excited about the work that we're doing. We're changing healthcare. We're changing the future of work.
Wild.
Boom.
That is not a small thing. You brought up so much in there. And I think the first thing that's coming to my mind, you have this background, you've been working in homes and you've been working with people.
Absolutely.
And you hear the stories that people have quote unquote unskilled labor, and sort of the otherness of that work. it was an idea and then it was a thing. So when did it become an idea, Care Academy, and when did it become a thing?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was a long time in realizing it. And I think, as entrepreneurs, we don't talk about sometimes the confidence. It has to be born and you kind of build up in order to do the thing. So the idea took up a lot of space and came way before I realized myself as an entrepreneur and it became a thing. It was actually in the middle of a grad school class at MIT. It has wonderful professor, Joost Bonson, shout out to MIT and Joost Bonson, who had a wonderful class that just was on the premise of thinking about something that could impact or a solution, a business that could impact the lives of 1 billion people.
Okay.
And so the idea for me was education.
Sure.
I think especially all the Nigerians out there will probably, commiserate with this, but, we're very much, we grew up with this idea that education unlocks a lot of doors. And I believe that. And that's why I was also a teacher. I was a teacher with Teach for America, that education unlocks a lot of doors. So how could we have a way where education could unlock doors of opportunity for students, meet them where they are, access it education in a really fun and engaging way, because that's how people learn. And then also open up the door for people to receive better quality care because the person they're engaging with is a professional, and we're kind of meeting both ends. So how do we do that for the professional, the caregiver, becoming a professional, training them as a professional? And that means ultimately the people who are receiving care from them are getting the very best, right? So that idea was there. The inkling was there. It was floating, percolating. And I had to kind of gain a wonderful set of mentors and kind of moms and dads to Care Academy in order to realize that over time. Our very first investors were kind of the mommies and daddies to Care Academy, and mentors to me. And over the course of 2 years after that, I left a really great job after a promotion and had built up that confidence to just basically step out on faith. And so, we're now 70,000 home care workers and 500 customers strong. And the things are going, it's going, and it's very blessed. And but it took a while. It took a really long time for us to kind of get around to that. But now we're kind of well on our way. So I'm really excited.
That's incredible. Yeah. So again, another just like bucket of things I want to talk about. So I'll try and pick something out here. The mentors, your first mentors, or the mommies and daddies of Care Academy.
Right.
How did you find your mentors? How did you engage a mentor? Like, what was the conversation like?
Yeah. I think it's oversaid. Maybe it sounds cliche, but it's relationship building, right?
Yeah.
It is not only the opportunism of, hey, what can you get me? But how can we build a relationship so I can inform you? I can also bring you ideas and we can kind of relate to one another over time. So the very first mentor / investor, one of the investors to Care Academy, was a woman. And there's several early investors. So shout out to Nico as well as Barbara Clark. But Barbara and I met actually via a friend. I learned a really great trick for anybody who wants to start anything.
Oh, dang.
Go into, hack, right? Whenever you go into a forum where someone is speaking or whatever, and it's question time, ask your question, always give your name and your company and a short pitch. So you're doing a couple of things. You're practicing your pitch, and then you are now stepping into the thing, right? And then, so I did this for the very first time at a PayPal event. And this woman comes running up to me and goes, I have someone you should meet.
Wow.
And so connected me to Barbara because I had announced that I was the founder of this company that didn't even exist yet. I wasn't even incorporated yet. So we met at 7 a.m. in the morning. I paid for her coffee. And I did that as a way to kind of show that I was very serious about, her honoring me with her time. And then over the course of 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, we got to know each other. And then I was riding a bus on the way from Harvard, and I got a call, and she said, Helen, I've seen you build this thing. I have a lot of faith that you'll figure it out. And I think that there's a really big market for what you're building. I'd like to write you your first check into Care Academy, right?
Whoa.
I didn't even have to ask for it.
Wow.
That is the value of relationships. And she's invested several times over with Care Academy and just been an amazing resource for the company.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
I'm going to walk through that.
Yeah.
Raising your hands saying you're the founder of this company.
It didn't exist yet.
Yeah, that didn't exist. So you just put it out there.
Just put it out.
You put it in the universe.
Yes.
Like you said, you stepped out on faith.
Yes.
And that wasn't quite the step because you stepped out and left your job.
Yeah.
That was a big one. Yeah, that was a baby step. And putting yourself out there, it's like putting up like the bat sign. Like people can see it.
I love that.
You know,
I love Batman too.
Okay, there we go. I didn't know that. That's great.
Dope.
And so someone could see you, and by seeing you, they came to you.
Yeah.
Now you had to foster that relationship, like you said.
Absolutely.
So from that moment, and then you said you fostered a relationship from 6 to 8 to 12, and now much longer months. And Care Academy has been around for 6
years. So 6 years. So
I want to go back though.
Yeah.
But it's been around for a while. I just want to let people know it's been around for a while.
It's been around for a while. We actually, and one of the things people never talk about, you know, in these like the $1 billion ideas, the Slacks of the world, all of them were sort of 10-year overnight successes.
Yeah.
And that's because you pivot, right?
Yeah.
You figure out like, what do folks actually need in the market? So we started out as a childcare company.
Okay.
And then we pivoted in 2016.
Wow.
So the current company in this iteration has been around since 2016 into 2019.
I want to zoom back.
Yes, please.
So you put this pitch, you say this thing.
Yeah.
And what was the woman's name?
Barbara,
right?
Yeah.
Barbara. I want to make sure we say names.
Yeah.
So Barbara came to you.
Yeah.
She felt connected. You responded. You followed up.
Yeah.
You created the space for that conversation to happen.
Yeah.
She kept on giving you energy. What, from that moment to the time that she said, I want to write a check, to the time that she wrote a check, to the time that you left your job, what's that timeline?
That was a year.
Okay. So in a year, you put it out there, you had this mentor / first investor. And when I'm
going to cry, like I realize you break it down when you say it like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's so important because like we see the story, quote unquote, you can't see it on the show, but we see the story of what founders need to do, or how do you raise money, or how are you successful?
Yeah.
And I think maybe I'm harping on this because like I believe so much in relationships.
Amen.
And like relationships precede results.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And when you have the world we have now with Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and mass email lists and buying lists and group emails and all this stuff, and people look at volume and they look at just like cold outreach as this thing.
Yeah.
And maybe something happens there.
Yeah.
But the power of really deeply connecting with someone.
Deeply connecting with folks and staying in touch. I mean, I was just listening in one of the sessions that we're at in the CEO Summit to the Zenefit CEO and Jay.
Oh my gosh,
that was dope. It was so great. And one of the things he said is like, you know, I'm the CEO of this company, but I've had relationships with people for years and years over my career, for 30 years, right? And so it helps me, it roots me, it grounds me in the fact that, you know, you keep building on relationships because life is long and it's short and you have these ebbs and flows. I think to your point, the value of cultivating a few relationships, it's not volume, to your point. I think it's, you know, picking out folks who you have an interest in and you build with over time. And that is not transactional, right? It's not something for something. It is the fact that at some point in my relationship, I can bring value. I can source deals for Barbara, right? I can help her vet. I can, you know, because I've also matured in my own journey, but it becomes really like a friendship, you know, in terms of the relationship. You add value to one another.
I love that. And I was just in a conversation last night about with mostly women and a couple men, but about getting capital to women-founded companies, and specifically tech and tech-enabled companies. Yeah. And one of the activities that I like to do when I work with groups is what's something that someone wouldn't know just by looking at you. And we do this. And when you do it with strangers, you don't know a lot about someone. Right. But when you do it with people that have known each other for a long time, usually something new comes up.
Blows people away.
But I do it because I talk about what happens when you get to know people.
Yeah.
And the first thing you did on the show, you said, you're a first generation American.
Yeah.
And immediately in my mind, on my mom's side, I'm first generation American. She's from Israel. Oh, wow. So instantly we have a connection.
That's amazing.
Right? Like not same country, but like that we're, you know, that we represent sort of this first wave of our family.
Yeah.
You know?
First one's here. Yeah. A lot of pressure.
You know, at least born here.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to be said about that, but really where I'm going with this is that it creates a relationship.
Yeah.
We have this similarity. And if you looked at us and we were walking on the street, you might say that they don't have anything in common.
Yeah.
But there's lots in common with people.
Totally.
Once you start to get to know them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I love this Barbara story, and I'm excited for other people to hear it. What's a piece of advice that you've received? And I know Care Academy has been around in its most recent iteration since 2016, but it's been around as an energy and a flow for 6 years. But what's a piece of advice you've received that's really been impactful?
On that note, persist.
Persist.
Right? I'd start out with that word and then kind of go from there. But for me, I know for the rest of my life, whether it's with Care Academy, before or after Care Academy, I'm passionate about unlocking opportunity for people.
Yes.
Some part of my life, some part of any company
maybe even
that
a
I've
billion
ever...
people.
Yeah, maybe a billion people, maybe the next, and onward in terms of our market opportunity and all that other stuff. But I am always and forever just really excited about whether it's sort of one-on-one helping folks in my network kind of build their opportunity and open up doors, or a platform completely dedicated to having that happen for the entire healthcare system. I'm always going to be involved in that. And that passion roots me. Yeah. And so I say persist in that. If you can persist in an idea, now that's not to say be inflexible. I want to make sure that I note that difference, because I'm sure there are some really smart folks out there who are going to say that. It's persisting in an idea and finding all the shades and nuances that keep it exciting for you as the entrepreneur, and passionate about it. But it's also being willing to listen to a market, right? And so, therein lies our positioning from a child care facing company to an elder care facing one, right? There's a natural confluence where we can still do the same thing that we're passionate about. Right. Then we can also find where the ends sort of meet in terms of the value to the healthcare system. And I challenge entrepreneurs that you cannot have one without the other. You have to persist, even in the low points, but also be flexible in terms of how you do what you do, in order to kind of stay passionate about that and find market opportunities and listen to the market, and potential customers as well.
I'm just going to hop right in there.
Yeah, please.
Listen to the market. Yeah. What do you mean?
I mean, it is a matter of, before you even think about the product, I think a lot of folks the sexy is the product. I need to build something, right? But it's not the product, it's the problem, right? I started with the problem that I had and I've had over the shape of my career, which is feeling supported and getting information when I need it. Right. That's the base problem that Care Academy is trying to solve, right? How do I make it as easy as possible for someone to gain the information so they can do their job and get to other jobs? That's it. That's what we do at the heart of it, right?
Boom. At the core.
That's at the core. So let's get away from the product and the solution and really live with the problem, figure out what the problem is, and you come up with better solutions that way. And that's what I always love to tell entrepreneurs too. So
be married to the problem.
Be married to the problem. Marry her.
I've heard someone else say it, so I don't remember who it was, but you're re-articulating it here in your own words. And the other thing that you mentioned is this persistence, right? And I think about this all the time when I talk to founders or people that really ascend in their life and whatever their interest is. Persistence is one of the number one factors. You didn't quit.
Yep.
And you iterated again, whether it's your personal life or you're building a company. And I have friends that are artists, and I tell them every year that they keep committing to their art, thousands of artists quit.
Ooh.
Literally.
Wow.
It's the truth.
And these are like creatives too, right? Yeah. Oh, wow. I've never thought about that.
And it's the same with founders. Wow. Every month, we'll use the startup life cycle here. Yeah. Every month that you stick with it, hundreds, maybe thousands of people are quitting.
You're absolutely
for a million reasons. Some of them unbelievably valid. Yeah. And some of them just, it wasn't the thing they wanted to do. And so I think that persistence is key. And if we could just call out the reality here, like I'm a straight white dude. So like the way I need to persist is different than say you. Because like the world for a woman of color
it's very different.
Tech.
Thank you for acknowledging
But let's be real.
Yes,
absolutely. My persistence is like, oh, the door was closed. It wasn't wide open. Let me just open the door. Like, that's my persistence. Like an analogy that I hear and see is like, oh, why is the door
bolt locked with cinder blocks in front of it with like no signage that says go to this door, and there's no sledgehammer. What am I supposed to do here?
Yeah. I think that actually, and I'm learning about this too, and I'm not learning about the problem. I've been a Black woman all my life, right? So, and I think that there's a couple things that I love to kind of think about. One, for folks of color, for folks who are underrepresented or underserved, right? I think you live your life in a practice, especially when you're in sort of, places of privilege, or you get to places of privilege. MIT, Harvard, all those places, you learn to acknowledge and absorb ways of persisting longer or doing things better with less, right?
Yes.
So my life has been the practice that led me to Care Academy, is doing a whole lot more with a whole lot less.
Right.
It makes me think a different way. Yep. And there was a point, I think, in my life where something turned on and I realized that was actually my secret sauce.
Okay.
And so I wholly embrace it. And that just even from my psyche alone as an entrepreneur propels me, right?
Well, when did that turn on? Like, can you pinpoint it?
I think it was, it might have been actually just during a sermon, right? Like, and you think about, I'm a woman of faith, and it was this idea that, and there's actually quite a few, scripture, there's a lot of scripture in the Bible that points to this, that, the idea of your weaknesses actually are a place that's the margin for strength to come out. And, the Creator will endow you with strength to move on in the margins of your weakness. Like, and that's grace. And for me, like those moments where I'm like, wow, I only have this much, but these guys are this huge behemoth and they're doing all of these things, is a moment where I say, okay, well, I have to kind of figure out a way in.
Yeah.
So I don't have, for instance, I didn't, have enough money for a conference or something. And so I talked my way into like, a friend kind of investing in me by way of buying me like a ticket into like,
there you go. Creative.
And then like I took up, and the Spanx founder talks about even doing some version of this too, but like Sarah Blakely. Yeah, Sarah Blakely. Yes. Name checks all the time. And so I brought a table from the hotel and I kind of just put it in the middle of the floor, and then it just became like my conference stand. And then I just started
this is a booth that you made?
This is like my booth, my quote unquote booth.
Okay.
And then like got in front of it and just started like, talking to people and engaging people and creating a wait list for a product I didn't have yet.
When was this?
This was, oh my gosh, this must have been like 4 years ago, right?
Okay,
like
so the company is like you're in motion.
Yeah.
You've already got that check from Barbara, that support from other people.
The company's in motion, but it's only so much, right? Like it's not the
so you hustle your way into a conference. You take a table that's probably like where they put like the cups and plates when people are done eating it. You're like, no, this is my conference booth.
This is the thing.
And then how were you signing people up? It was 2012-ish?
Yeah,
2015.
Yeah, this would have been 2015.
Okay, so do you have an iPad? Do you have pen and paper? Like, what are you using?
I have a laptop.
Okay.
And I have a pen and paper.
Okay.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
Right. And so I showed them, I think we'd created a video. I edited it myself.
Sure.
It was terribly edited.
Okay.
Showed them a video of what we had and started getting people to sign up and to have at least interviews with me. And then we took that a step further. And I think it's always a buildup of confidence, right? So once we had this idea that we're going to transition into elder care, we were like, okay, well, we don't have any more of Barbara's money and we have to figure out how to make ends meet. And so we were in this accelerator program, hats off to the Iowa Startup Accelerator. Iowa Startup Accelerator, everyone. And so and now it's a big deal to do this. Like now it's a thing, but it wasn't a thing back in 2015. Well, to go through accelerators, but then to specifically do the thing that we did next, which was pre-sales, right?
Right.
So what we said was, we have a history of making childcare content.
Got it.
We're going to make elder care content.
Got it.
But we don't have that yet, right? We have a tester video. So we went to like 2 or 3 agencies within Iowa and said, we're going to become now this elder care company, but you can purchase ahead. And so on that alone, we brought in about $50,000 worth of pre-sales, and that funded the company to build its initial set of content, like just the content that would launch us into elder care in pre-sales, right? So it's like
I'm just like equal like expression of like impressed and like not disbelief. It's not unbelievable, but it's like, damn. I get it.
Yeah. It's a hustle though. And I think that founders in general, no matter who, like good founders learn that instinct and build that muscle. But I think that's a part of being, a founder in the societal margins.
Right.
Makes you figure out ways of doing things that most people don't have to consider.
That was a fancy way of saying like not a straight white dude.
That's not a straight white dude, right?
I just want to make sure.
Exactly
I'm like layman's terms.
Straight,
I'm simple.
White, right, exactly.
Okay, I love it. Sure. Societal margins, I got it.
I'm a person who's like trained in like political science and sociology,
I got it.
So I talk about margins.
That was the most PC thing I've ever heard.
I'm professorial sometimes. But just to be really blunt. Okay. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I was just in Oakland. I went to Afrotech.
Nice. Oh, I missed Afrotech this year. I wanted to cry.
It was amazing.
I know it was.
And it's the polar opposite of what we're talking about kind of at the moment. And there's not a lot of spaces like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was incredible to be there and be with people and see what I assessed was people being able to be themselves exactly the way they wanted to be.
And it's amazing. The first Afrotech I ever went to, I cried.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I can literally only imagine.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes to this, the story that you have here about literally elbowing your way into a conference. And like there was some support, right, from this friend, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's so important to have those people. But even once you're there, like I thought you were just going to like walk around and talk to people. And then you were like straight up boothing it.
Yeah. Why not? Because what do you have to lose?
Right. They're going to kick you out. And you're like, well, I didn't even pay for this conference anyways.
But, hey, right? And the gumption, and there have been those moments, right? The kick out moments of like, what are you doing? Okay. You're overstepping, whatever. But I mean, again, like it goes back to you build a muscle over time of just maybe even taking baby steps. And I don't think Helen of 2015 was the same as Helen in 2007 or 2012, right? Where I believed I could do those things. Yeah. But you build a muscle for like, why the hell not? Right. Why not you?
Right. We're gonna do a whole nother episode of just like the confidence muscle.
Oh,
and all the little steps that like was like.
I love that.
Like over the years, like what was the first thing? I would listen
to that. I would love that.
I'm talking about with you.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. You got all these great examples, but maybe it's the confidence muscle its own show.
Yeah.
Because the conversation's kind of gone here, and I don't know who took who there.
Yeah.
Advice for founders of color.
Yeah.
That you just from your perspective, and then follow up.
Yeah.
Advice if you're feeling generous.
Yeah.
To white founders or straight white men founders, in this space.
All the people.
Just about how to create space.
Absolutely. About how to create space. How to be inclusive.
How do we exactly.
I got you on both fronts actually from one
I'm not saying that people need different advice, but I'm saying
and
I need to create space, my peers need to create space. But also this like elbowing thing. So if you got like two pieces that you could drop real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have examples too of people who are amazing in my space.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say to founders of color, to folks like who are creating and, have been in the margins historically. Yeah. My first thing is that, we need to change the paradigm shift. We need to do a paradigm shift where we imagine that all of the things that make us different are actually our strengths, and work from there, right? All of your hustle is entrepreneurship. If you have that, you already have a leg up, right? Yeah. You already know how to use capital more efficiently. Those are all the things that your investors will love.
Yeah.
If you know how to talk to people, how to convince people, if you've done any of those things, you've already passed the test, right?
Yeah.
So thinking forward as the deficit as your strength is a really big thing. Yeah. And then the other thing that I've done, but I think I've just put a finger on as of late. And actually, this is not my own original thought. I'll cite that this is, there's a book called Leapfrog, and I forget the name of the VC. I'm so sorry. Wonderful female VC.
We'll put her in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you should totally. I'll send that. I'll definitely.
Yeah.
In the book, she has a chapter called Trojan Horses. And essentially, it talks about these folks that once you started building that relationship building muscle, you build up an ecosystem around what you're doing and who you are and, the fact that you're the person to do it. It's going to increasingly, because that's just the way the world is shaped, people who look like you and people who don't look like you, folks who are, i.e. straight white men, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so as you build with them and as they see your commitment to building and building of quality, building an excellent company and product, they become your champions. They become your Trojan horses.
Oh, wow.
Right?
I love it.
So I have, and I could go on and on about, and you know who you all are if you're listening, all of the Trojan horses who have come before Care Academy and opened that cemented, blocked, locked, stocked door that you talk about. They have kicked it down on my behalf in order for me to step in, right?
Yeah.
Because the painful truth of the world that we inhabit is that, you know, a lot of the communities with access and power and money, they talk to each other, right?
I got to jump in.
Yeah, please.
Because this is so wild. And this hopefully is a little homage to someone who I just learned about and then passed. Bernard Tyson.
Bernard, yes. And that's exactly.
And I saw him speak at Afrotech and that morning, and he passed that night.
I cried when I found out he passed away, and I missed his talk at Afrotech.
I've never been so impacted by someone's passing of someone who I literally didn't know existed until the morning before.
Right.
But he distinguished between mentors and sponsors. And we talked about mentors already in this conversation, and you just articulated sponsors. Who are the people that are speaking on your behalf in a way that represents what you're interested in when you're not in the room?
Yes.
You know, who say, actually, this is something Helen would be really great for. Or actually, have you talked to Helen? She's building this.
Yes.
When you're not there.
Yes.
You know, and oh my gosh, I was taking notes. I was tweeting what he was talking about. And I'm so glad that this conversation took us here.
Yeah.
Because with him passing, which is heartbreaking, I feel like we all have to work 10 times harder to get his voice and his ideas and message held and out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And therein lies, I think, the opportunity for the straight white guys, right? Yeah. Is to be sponsors in ways. Shout out to Tariq Alatari, really great CEO of Fair Market, who just on meeting me at a barbecue, right, opened quite a few doors. And, you know, as we're raising right now, and just has been a really great supportive and coach. Yeah. But there's an opportunity for folks who are gaining success and raising money and to open doors and meet other founders who they may not necessarily be within their networks and bring them into their networks too. And so I think that the opportunity lies on both ends.
Amazing. Yeah. We are going to end it there with one last question, which is, how do people who are listening follow in Care Academy's journey and your journey? Where should people look? How should people engage?
Yes, absolutely. On all the social things, right? So we're on LinkedIn. We're a Care Academy Co. on Instagram as well as Twitter. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Helen Adeosun, Adeosun. Happy to share what I've learned. I'm an open book of the pitfalls as well as the fabulous moments and opportunities that we have. So yeah, happy to be a mentor and also a sponsor.
Amazing. Helen, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been incredible.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Founder's Mind. Check back soon for season 2, sponsored by Upside Business Travel. Learn more about Upside at upside.com. If you like what you're hearing, we'd love your support. Sign up to be a funder of The Founder's Mind. To support the show, you can go to the show notes or head to thefoundersmind.com and click the link Funder. To make sure you don't miss any awesome wisdom from guests and stay up to date on the most recent episodes of the show, be sure to visit thefoundersmind.com. You can also follow along on social at thefoundersmind. Last but not least, thank you to Roy Matz for the music on this show and his dope editing skills that make The Founder's Mind possible. Until next time, take care.
In the world, going through all of this insanity, and try to bring new ideas, make them a reality. Illuminate in the thoughts, make it a priority to implement what you learn. What you get is what you be. In a world full of noise, hard to find that clarity to try to lead subtly, never full of vanity, and try to change something small or try to change humanity. Power forward through the dark, founder's mind is what you see. Founder's mind is what you see.